Hello, everybody. I'm Don Koss, your host for Big Time Wrestling. Well, we've certainly saved the best for Big Time Wrestling. Today's main event, Rocky Johnson gets his shot, gets his wish at Rip Oliver. It's going to be a grudge match. Oh, it'll be more than that. It'll be a war. Rocky Johnson and Rip Oliver in the main event. We've got news, we've got interviews, and, of course, all the action right after this. Don't go away. Here we go. Big Time Wrestling. Don Owen will be making the announcement of our first match today. Glad to have you along.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next event will be one fall. Introducing in this corner, 240 pounds from Canada, Tarzan White. His opponent in this corner, 255 pounds from Minnesota, one of the most powerful young wrestlers in the nation, Scott Doring.
Well, he's right about that. Scott Doring's power is just about unequaled. Man is something else. Scott Doring and Tarzan White, the referee, National Wrestling Alliance referee, Sandy Barr. Scott Doring, a few weeks ago, I don't know, did I tell you this story? Well, anyway, it's interesting. No matter how many times you tell it. A few weeks ago, deadlifting in the gym, and the only reason I know this, a friend of mine was in there watching him, and he was warming up with 800 pounds. Hey, warming up. And he'd deadlift it, bring it up to his chest, and then pump it 2 or 3, 4 times and put it back down. When he got up to 1,200 pounds, they ran out of time in the gym. And with that 1,200 pounds on that bar, the bar was being bowed in the middle because of the weight on either side. And Scott Doring deadlifted that 1,200 pounds up to his chest and then pumped it a couple of times and put it down. And then they ran out of time. I don't know how far he could have gone. The man's extremely powerful. Tarzan White, veteran, professional wrestler. Scott Doring, still considered a rookie. Tarzan White, though, can get real mean real quick. He's always wearing his wrestling face. Both men lock up. Yeah, boy, they mean business out there in that squared circle. Against the ropes goes Scott Doring, and he just took an elbow from Tarzan White. But that's typical Tarzan White style. Catch him when you can, and whatever way you can. Big news, ladies and gentlemen. As of right now, we have new Pacific Northwest Tag Team Champions. It happened in Madras, Oregon a couple of weeks ago. The new champions. Oh, a good slap across the face by Scott Doring and Tarzan White. The new tag team champions are Mike Miller and Abu Dean. They wrestled the belts away from Brady Boone and Coco Samoa. Actually, they wrestled the belt away. We still have a missing belt. We still have a missing Pacific Northwest Tag Team Championship belt. Well, nobody seems to know where it is. Back body drop by Scott Doring on Tarzan White. Tarzan White just bounced and then crawled out of the ring. So, wait a minute, I've had enough of this. I need a timeout. He's going to yell at the crowd down that ringside a little bit. So, new champions and missing belt controversy. Tarzan White getting back into the ring. Main event. Boy, oh boy. Is this ever going to be a grudge match? Rocky Johnson and Rip Oliver. The things that Rip Oliver was saying about Rocky Johnson last week. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they might have met in a parking lot or a back alley or in the dressing room. But Rocky Johnson has asked for this match. Don Owen granted it, and you're going to see it on Big Time Wrestling today. Rocky Johnson, Rip Oliver. Top wrist lock by Tarzan White is going nowhere, as Scott Doring using that tremendous power. But then again, Tarzan White has a few tricks up his sleeve. Well, he doesn't have a sleeve. Up his arm, I guess. And one of them is grabbing the hair, and he did, and down went Doring, and well, we're back where we started from. Another top wrist lock by Tarzan White on Scott Doring. Now, we've seen this happen before, where Doring just uses his tremendous power and will sometimes just shove his opponent halfway across the ring with one arm when that one arm is being put into a top wrist lock. But Doring, again, just using his power to force his way out of that hold of Tarzan White, and down goes White. Now, there was no way that Tarzan White could use the hair that time, because Sandy Barr very cleverly was following the action from the backside, so Tarzan White could not grab the hair. Tarzan White responding to the crowd at ringside once again. Both men lock up. Side headlock by Tarzan White. A hard pop right on the forehead. Scott Doring goes down to one knee. That's instant headache time, I would imagine. Tarzan White looks like he may be trying to choke with that right hand. Scott Doring again goes down to the knee, and Tarzan staying right on him. Tarzan White, whip into the ropes. Oh, and Scott Doring was just nailed by a Tarzan White elbow coming off those ropes, and Scott Doring now is in trouble. Couple of forearm smashes across the back of the neck. Tarzan White with another shot. Into the ropes goes Doring. And oh, he misses with an elbow that time. And he just got clotheslined by Scott Doring as Doring came off the other side of the ropes. And that took Tarzan White down. And there's a body slam by Scott Doring on Tarzan White. And here comes a whip into the ropes again. Oh, that's Tarzan White just ran into a building. Leg drop across the chest. Scott Doring going for the pin. 1-2, and Tarzan White kicks out. Tarzan coming back with another right hand, an elbow, the back of the neck of Scott Doring. And Doring felt every one of those. Tarzan White, a front shin lock. Sandy Barr making sure that doesn't develop into a chokehold under there. When big-time wrestling comes to your area, and boy, it's all over the Northwest, take the whole family out and enjoy professional wrestling in person. Make sure it's Don Owen Promotions. Make sure it's big-time wrestling, so you know you're going to get much more than your money's worth. All right? Big-time wrestling, the finest action wrestlers in the world of professional wrestling, bar none. East Coast, Central, Midwest, South, wherever you want to go in the United States and around the world, it doesn't get any better than big-time wrestling. This is our first match today. Our main event, Rocky Johnson, Rip Oliver. And that's the kind of a match that will start in the middle of the ring and may end up outside on the concrete floor, might end up in the seats, might end up outside the building. We've seen that a couple of times in the past. Scott Doring circling, moving in. Both men lock up, and now it's Doring against that turnbuckle. Tarzan White drives a knee into the midsection. Tarzan White with an arm bar and throws Scott Doring into the turnbuckle. Tarzan White kicking, driving those feet into the midsection of Scott Doring. And as big and as strong as Doring is, boy, he feels that. Into the rope, the turnbuckle goes Tarzan White. Tarzan tried to go for a victory roll, and all he got was a back body drop out of it. And Scott Doring with a couple of right hands. Here comes Tarzan right at you into the ropes. Oh, a hard smash right into the chest by Scott Doring. He kind of clotheslined Tarzan White's chest. Crowd says, yeah, go to it. Oh, ear burner. And Tarzan White right now has got to be seeing birdies. Into the turnbuckle. There's a kick, another kick from Scott Doring. That last one took Tarzan right up. There's a heel clear across the ring. And Scott Doring moving in, going for the win. Into the ropes goes Tarzan White. Power body slam. This one's all wrapped up. 1, 2, 3. I've never seen anybody recover from a Scott Doring power body slam coming off those ropes, and he set him up perfectly. Our first match goes to Scott Doring over Tarzan White. We'll be back with a special interview and more action after this commercial timeout.